Is he on any kind of? He came out of last game okay, right?
I think he did come out fine, but I definitely think it was bothering him to a certain extent. He was definitely feeling it, but in terms of it setting him back, no, he didn't. Obviously, he's able to play tonight, but I don't think he was quite himself in the Milwaukee game, quite honestly.
Got it.
Torrey seemed to be moving around even a little bit more today.
Yeah, he's really moving in a really good direction. I think that I don't know about this road trip. It's certainly not out of the question. A lot of it's going to be depending on how he continues to progress. But I think the medical guys are pretty optimistic of where he's at this point in time. So he's definitely progressing closer and closer to playing.
Any official date, kind of goal date for that yet?
No, I haven't heard that. I think they were just pretty optimistic that there could be a chance on this trip. I don't want to say they didn't say that was definite. There's a possibility. I do. In my conversation with them, it will definitely be a minute restriction and a pretty strong one. As he gets and works his way back. But I think a lot of it will be, this back-to-back. Certainly, we probably wouldn't play him in a back-to-back, but maybe the back end of the back-to-back or the last game against the Clippers may be a possibility. If he doesn't, that's fine too. But he certainly is progressing, and I haven't gotten a specific date that he's definitely going to be available for.
What did you go ahead?
I know we've asked you this before, especially this time of year, past previous years. Do you start scoreboard watching, standings watching, just to see, 20, 22 games left, what kind of maneuverability you guys have, how much maneuverability you guys will have? I mean, when you look, that group in front of you is going to be, someone would really have to slip up for you to catch that group.
That's right.
So it seems like you guys are just kind of making sure you hold your spot. And if someone does slip you, then you jump up.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that the other day, at practice. The biggest thing is how much we can move up or move down is going to be predicated on how well we play or don't play. So to me, if you're fortunate enough to get into a situation where, you're in an opportunity to play after the regular season's over with, to kind of just cruise into that or glide into that, I don't. You want to be playing well. I mean, at that time of year. So, I'm not personally watching that stuff. I mean, I'm aware of it, but I'm not, every day racing to my phone and doing that. I mean, it's going to fluctuate. The biggest thing I think we have to do, and I've said this before, and I know it sounds cliche-ish, but we just got to worry about ourselves. We just, we can't control those other games, those other scores, what happens. We only can control what's in front of us. And, this road trip is going to be really challenging, coming out of the Milwaukee, Cleveland, Milwaukee at home, the last two games. These 4 road games coming back against Dallas. We're playing against really, really good teams. So, we don't need to be watching, in my opinion, what's going on around the league, what's in front of us at this point.
Coach, the Sabonis, you had him his rookie year, and to see how far he's come, he's got 44 straight double-doubles. He leads the NBA in double-doubles, triple-doubles, rebounding, whatever. Did you have any inclination that this could happen?
I think the one thing that was hard for him, we all loved him as a player when I was in Oklahoma City. We had Enes Kanter, we had Steven Adams, we had Taj Gibson, and he kind of came in as a rookie and was kind of, in that power forward spot. And, early in his career, and early his rookie year, he shot the ball really, really well for a guy that was a rookie that predominantly played around the basket in college, and he was a really, really great worker, cared a great deal about competing and winning. But he was really more with our personnel at the power forward spot. I think when he went to Indiana, he probably got more into his natural position because he's a really, really good facilitator with the ball in his hands. He can bring it up. You can run a lot of screening actions around him. He's a good passer. Obviously he's physical at the basket offensively and rebounding. But I felt like he was going to be a very, very good player just because of his work ethic and his competitiveness.
When you look at, just facing the Kings a month ago and you look back at that film, that game, what has to be different for you guys tonight?
Well, we got destroyed in transition, and I think some of that had to do with our turnovers. So I think they had 32 or 31 points in transition. I think 16 of those points came off our turnovers, our live ball turnovers. So, they're very, very active with their hands. So we've got to do a better job of taking care of the ball, passing the basketball. There were some opportunities I felt like in the game that we had some advantages that were created that we didn't, capitalize on. And to their credit, they deflected some of those passes, and it led to runouts and numbers for them in transition. Certainly, that's going to be a big part of it. I think we, over the course of the game, I think we defended pretty well in the half court, but the transition was probably the biggest difference for us. And then. I also think the rebounding is important. Domas does a good job rebounding. Their guys, will crash. But those would be the two things I think that stood out from the first time we played them.
And Billy, with IO, after that Cleveland game, one of the things DeMar said is in the huddles, IO had the loudest voice in those overtimes. And then obviously in the Milwaukee game, he goes out and puts a little wood on Patrick Beverly. Are you seeing a guy that is – was a leader in college, obviously, on that team, and is now comfortable enough to kind of say some things and maybe make some teammates uncomfortable and be a leader with this group?
Yeah, I think he and Kobe are trying to do more of that. I think sometimes guys get in situations where, like, if they're not playing a lot or they're not playing well, they don't feel like they have a right to say something. But I think if you're about the right things and you continually do the best you can to do what is right for the team, I think you always have a platform to speak. Now, the one thing that's really, really good about our team is I think for guys like DeMar and Vooch who are older guys, they're okay with that. Like a lot of times you can get around teams with older guys like, hey, I got it. Yeah. So, but I think sometimes, a guy like DeMar or Vooch, they need that. Not so much that they need to be, getting after, but sometimes if DeMar gets frustrated, someone needs to go over there and talk to him. If Vooch gets frustrated, like someone needs to go over there and talk to him. I don't think Io's ever shied away from that. That's the one thing that I enjoy about working with him and coaching him is you can be as direct and as blunt, as honest as you can, right? That's the way he wants it, and I think that's the way he is, as a person. Now, not to say he does it in a disrespectful way, but I think he's got a pretty clear understanding of what's right and wrong, and he owns it when he could be better, and I think that when the team's not doing well, he'll call things out and say things, about what we need to do better. But he does it in a very, very respectful way, and I think DeMar has, even Vooch, they've I don't want to say allowed it, but they've encouraged it.
I was going to ask that. It seems like DeMar actually kind of wants that from the younger guys. Like even Io in that rookie season would sometimes be willing to kind of like not step to, but like kind of issue that challenge to DeMar, and it seemed like he wants that from the younger guys.
I think DeMar's fine with anybody doing that.
Yeah.
I think he's totally fine, and and not that DeMar needs to be motivated and things like that, but sometimes when you're a guy that's been in the league as long as he's been in the league, DeMar has had the success that he's had. And everybody, I always say, like, sometimes in like leadership positions, it's somewhat lonely because no one's really talking to you and helping you, So I think DeMar's open to that, and sometimes that gets him going, too. And like I said, it's not like Io's in these huddles yelling and screaming at guys, but he'll, whatever he's got to say, he'll do it. And if he does it the right way, it's all positive. And I think Io's always been, ultra competitive, and he's always been, a guy that I think competes in a way of what's best for the team. That's kind of his mentality. That's not to say that he's mistake-free, but his intentions are always about trying to do what's best for the team. And I think the rest of the group respects that when he has something to say.
Coach Donovan, you were paying attention. I just wanted to get your thoughts or reaction. DeMontis did make the All-Star game, and he's been putting up, astronomical performances, Hall of Fame. I just want to get your thoughts about him not making the All-Star game.
Again, I don't get a chance to see, every player on a nightly basis. Mike's obviously with him every single game. And I always say this, every year there's going to be a list of players that are left out of the All-Star game that, quote unquote, were snubbed, and it's just going to happen every year. It's just the way it is. Is he deserving of being an All-Star? Absolutely. Why it happened, I don't know. But clearly he's had an All-Star type of year and has played exceptionally well last year and this year. So, every year kind of the same thing happens. It's like after the All-Star game's announced, there's always a list of like the players that didn't, get a chance. And when some guys went out in the East, we had talked a little bit about, does DeMar deserve consideration? Does Kobe deserve consideration? In my opinion, absolutely. And so does Domas. He's played great, and he's done, a lot of terrific things here for this team. So, I don't know why it didn't happen, but there's always going to be somebody that a lot of times that gets left out, so to speak.
Thanks, Coach.
Yes, thank you.
We'll
Okay.
open up the locker room in a minute.